All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack the invisible economic forces that are literally shaping the prices of everything around us, from the car you drive to the toothpaste you use every single morning. We're looking at two fundamental market structures that completely dictate how companies behave, how they price their goods, and ultimately how much power they hold over us as consumers.
We're breaking this whole concept down into a 6-round matchup. We'll start with giants versus many brands, move into market size and entry rules, tackle the demand curve dilemma, look at products and long run profits, dive into interdependence and market power, and wrap it all up with the final breakdown. Let's get right into it.
Round one, giants versus many brands. Let's define the arenas we're dealing with here. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why buying a vehicle feels like a completely different economic game than, say, picking out a bar of soap at the grocery store? Think about it. When car manufacturers compete, it is a massive, high-stakes battle. But when soap brands compete, they might just release a new scent or, maybe change their box. The reason behind this behavior actually lies entirely in the structure of the market they operate in. Let's look at oligopoly first. This is a market structure dominated by just a few massive giants. Think automobile manufacturers or the major electronics companies. Because there are so few of them, every single move one company makes sends shockwaves through the entire industry. They are locked in this intense direct competition where everyone is constantly watching everyone else. On the flip side, we have monopolistic competition. Instead of a few paranoid giants, this is a bustling swarm of many brands. It features a huge number of buyers and sellers. The retail soap or toothpaste aisles perfectly illustrate this, right? There are dozens of options, and they are all somewhat differentiated, but ultimately they act as close substitutes for one another. Okay, round two, market size and entry rules. Let's look at the sheer scale of the competitors and the gates keeping newcomers out. As we just established, the sheer number of players is our first major differentiator. In an oligopoly, you've got just a few heavyweights slugging it out. The market is highly concentrated. Meanwhile, monopolistic competition features a massive, highly populated crowd of sellers. Absolutely no single firm in this bustling crowd has the sheer scale of an oligopolist. Our second point of comparison is how easy it is to actually join these markets. When it comes to entering an oligopoly, the gates are heavily guarded. We're talking huge barriers to entry, like massive initial capital requirements or complex patents, all working to protect the established giants from any new competitors. On the other hand, monopolistic competition is a wide-open arena. There is completely free entry and exit into the industry. Basically, anyone could start a new soap company tomorrow without facing insurmountable walls. Moving on to round three, the demand curve dilemma. Let's talk about the underlying math of how these businesses predict consumer demand. Because those oligopolists are so hyper-aware of each other, their demand curve is completely unpredictable, or what economists call kinked. If one firm raises its price, the others won't follow, causing a sharp drop in sales for that first firm. But if they lower prices, everyone instantly copies them. Monopolistic competition doesn't have that problem. Their curve is definite and downward sloping. It's relatively more elastic, meaning it's highly sensitive to price, because consumers can easily just swap to another brand if a price goes up. But here is the really wild part. Despite those totally different demand curve shapes, both of these markets share one fundamental mathematical reality. Average revenue is strictly greater than marginal revenue. To put that in plain English, in both of these systems, if you want to sell more volume, you eventually have to lower your prices, period. Round four, products and long-run profits. Let's look at the nature of what they're actually selling and what they get to take home as their prize. In an oligopoly, the output can be purely identical peer commodities like standardized steel or cooking gas, or it can be differentiated like distinct models of automobiles. But in monopolistic competition, the output must be strictly differentiated. Every brand of toothpaste or soap claims to have a unique formula or special scent, yet they all remain close substitutes for the exact same underlying consumer need. Now, here's where those entry barriers we talked about really pay off. Because the oligopoly is protected from new competitors entering the space, these firms successfully hoard abnormal profits in the long run, meaning they make way more money than is needed to just keep the business running. In stark contrast, the free entry in monopolistic competition means that if a soap company starts making huge profits, new competitors instantly rush in, driving prices down until everyone clears strictly normal profits, just enough to stay afloat.
Round 5, interdependence and market power. Let's look at the underlying psychology and the strategy behind day-to-day pricing. Oligopolists suffer from extreme structural interdependence. They are constantly looking over their shoulder before making a single move. This paranoid calculation of, if I cut my price, will they cut theirs, is the defining feature of the market. And honestly, it often leads directly to destructive, intense price wars. Unlike those paranoid giants locked in a staring contest, monopolistic competitive firms possess a slight amount of individual market power, and they follow completely independent price policies. Because there are just so many players, a soap brand can raise or lower its price slightly based on its own differentiated value. They make autonomous decisions about their price and output without triggering an industry-wide price war. Round 6, the final breakdown. We've survived all the head-to-head matchups, so let's put the complete matrix together to see the whole picture. Looking at the complete picture here, the divide is super clear. A market with just a few firms and high entry barriers leads to unpredictable demand, massive abnormal profits, and fearful interdependence. Compare that to a market with many sellers and free entry, which naturally leads to normal profits, independent decisions, and flexible demand for strictly differentiated goods. So, the absolutely crucial point to take away from this is that understanding whether a market is an oligopoly or a monopolistic competition perfectly explains the behavior of the companies within it. It dictates their pricing strategy, their ability to hold on to long-term wealth, and their overall power in the broader economy. And yet, despite all their differences, both operate in a reality where average revenue outpaces marginal revenue, which drives their constant need to balance price and output. So, as you head out into the real world, consider how the invisible structure behind the products you buy dictates the power dynamic between you and the corporation. The next time you make a purchase, ask yourself, are you feeding a high-stakes price war among a few heavily protected giants? Or are you simply choosing a favorite brand in a highly crowded, fiercely competitive arena? It definitely makes you look at the store shelves a bit differently. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.